of them.
Yeah, as far as a Medicare supplement, or if you're aging in at age 65 or about to turn, you have that 7-month window. That window is 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of, and then 3 months after. So we recommend as soon as you hit that 3-month window before your 65th birthday, that's when you should begin logging on to Social Security website, signing up for Part A and Part B.
Right.
If you're retired and no longer working.
We've been doing this for 20 years and serving hundreds of families. We're going to bring solutions to your situation.
How do you choose a financial advisor? How do you know who you should
That's
work with?
the value of that 210 core, moving everything towards a purpose on purpose.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to your Retirement Blueprint podcast. My name's Kendall Stahl. I'm the host of the podcast. I don't have my co-host with me today, but I've got our special guest, and that is Mr. Jesse Psinas. Jesse, how's it going?
Fantastic. How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Tell me a little bit about what you do at 210 and where you came from.
Most of my background has been in the car business for many, many years. And I've been with 210 for about a year and a half now. Am fully licensed, so I have my licenses for life and health insurance. Did the Series 65 exam, so that allows me to be an advisor in the fiduciary capacity. And I also head up a lot of the Medicare for the firm here.
Which is today's topic.
That would be why I'm the special guest.
You are the first guest on this very famous podcast.
Very honored.
Anyways, we're going to start out the day with a question because that's what we always do. And it's kind of a long one. And it's from Ruth. And she says, so Ruth says, we are new to Peoria. We have about 13 more years to work before retirement. I recently lost my husband. We have been living in our home for almost 2 years. Should I start investing aggressively in my Roth IRA plans, or should I pay off my home? So there's a lot in that question.
It is, yeah.
I'll take a stab at it, and you can add in where you want to. Okay? Well, first of all, obviously, Ruth, we're sorry for your loss. Hope everything's going well. And in terms of your question, I think what you're asking is, with the extra money that I have, should I be investing in a Roth IRA or should I be paying off my home? Generally speaking, I think is what you've got going on. And then you said you got 13 more years to work. So without knowing your situation, much more than what can be put on an index card, a little tough to answer, but a couple things to think about. I like where your head's at with the Roth IRA. Pay your taxes now so you don't have to pay them later. Roth IRA, taxes are paid on that. So that's a good thing. And then in terms of paying off the home, it depends on your interest rate. If you've had that home for a few years, more than likely, it's got a pretty low interest rate. And so maybe you can take those extra dollars and instead of putting it on the home, go ahead and invest that into like a Roth IRA or something like that and get those dollars growing. Hypothetically, over time, those dollars that are invested are going to grow more than maybe what you're paying on the interest rate on your home. And so, if you're paying 2.5% or 3% interest on your home, which in 2022 you're not going to get that anymore, but I'm assuming you've had this home for a little bit, so maybe you do. You could take the extra dollars, invest them in the market or invest them somewhere, and probably get more than 2 or 3%. And then there's a thing called compound interest, right? So if you've got 3 years to go, those dollars are going to compound on themselves. And so, okay, Jesse, I don't know if you know this answer. I actually don't know the real answer either. But if you take a penny and you double it every day for a month, do you know how much money you have at the end of a month?
It's over $1 million.
Yeah, I want to say it's 3 million, but somebody's going to need to fact check that. Yeah. It's in the millions, but nothing happens until that last week or those last few days. So compound interest, 1 penny turns into 2, turns into 4, turns into 6. Really not that exciting. But then by that last week, you're taking hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're doubling them, and eventually it turns into millions. So compound interest is a thing. So if you can get those dollars invested today and they can start growing for that next 13 years, I think that's probably a good idea. Obviously, I don't know your full situation, so we probably That's a little bit of a blanket statement, but is that a fair answer? Did I do good there?
Yes. Only thing that I would really add to that is, the old adage of buy low, sell high.
Yep.
Right now we're in a down market situation. So
Sure.
anything that you can put into an investment type of situation, you're going to catch a lot of that upside growth. And you're also taking advantage of what's called dollar cost averaging when you're buying whatever it is, stocks, bonds that you're choosing to invest in. So you're going to have an opportunity to catch more upside growth potential on the way back if you invest in that.
Yeah.
So
Look at you, sounding smart over there. Dollar cost averaging, fancy words. I like it, but that's accurate. Okay, I think that answers the question. So let's go ahead and move into our topic for the day, which is Medicare. And that is the reason why we have Jesse instead of Phil, because Jesse is our Medicare specialist at our firm. And the other reason too is we've got open enrollment coming up here. Probably, but we're probably going to be into that by the time this airs. So we'll be into that or getting real close. So there's a couple of reasons why we're doing this now, but why don't we start by talking through what is Medicare, which I think a lot of people know, but maybe for people that don't, maybe we should start there.
Yep. So essentially, there's two things that you were promised for working your entire life that the United States government offered to promise you. And that's one, a paycheck for the rest of your life, and that comes in the form of Social Security, and the other is guaranteed health care for the rest of your life, and that is Medicare. So there's two basic parts of Medicare from the government. That's Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B. And then that's the basis for your Medicare coverage. And then there's a whole slew of other options that we can get into after that as well.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And so, yeah, it's promised by the government, which I guess is a good thing, I think. Actually, tell me if I made this up. You might not even know. Social Security normally has some sort of cost of living increase on it. So if you're collecting your Social Security, a lot of times it'll go up depending on inflation. Well, in 2022, they're talking about it, or I guess in 2023, they're talking about it going up quite a bit because of inflation. And everybody always jokes that the Medicare premiums go up just as much, and they take all that extra payment back. But aren't they talking about lowering the Medicare premium this year?
Yeah. So essentially what happened last year, they gave a pretty sizable increase in the cost of living. They jumped that up by 6%.
Yep.
However, they also jumped the Medicare Part B premium up 14%. So
Yeah.
it went from $148.50 up to $170.10 for this year.
Sure.
Now, part of that was because they suspected that due to COVID, there would be a lot more medical expenses, and that was covering some of those costs. Well, since they didn't spend or have the impact, I should say, of that price increase, they're either talking about this year for 2023 giving a 10% bump for cost of living because of the inflation issue, and then they're either talking about keeping the $170.10 the same and not have an increase or reduce it. I've heard the number of like 3% thrown out there as well.
We'll see what happens.
But yeah, that's still in the works, and they're still talking about that as well. So
okay, so we like to talk. There's basically two different forms of ways that you can use Medicare, or ways that you can insure yourself in retirement. And so Medicare, everybody's going to get Part A and Part B, like you talked about. Okay, Part A is free because you paid into Social Security your whole life.
Yes, because you worked those 10 quarters or whatever they call it. So it's essentially 10 years of full-time work.
40 quarters, 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as long as you have that, that is also what makes your ability to draw Social Security.
Sure.
So Part A is no additional premium, and that is your major hospital coverage for major things, heart attack, stroke, if you have to be in for a certain period of time.
Right. Yep. Okay. So that's technically free. And then Part B, that is what you would consider your doctor's visits, your
if you need blood work, x-rays, things of that nature, specialist visits. And that's the premium of this year for 2022. Base premium was $170.10.
Sure. And so tell me if I'm wrong, but because you know what you're talking about more than I do, but everybody's basically going to get those. And then you can kind of go one of two directions. You can go the Medicare Advantage direction, which is kind of Part C, which it kind of wraps Part A and B together, or you can go the Med Sup direction, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We always talk about it as there's two different kind of directions you can go. You can pay now or you can pay later, right? And so I don't know, maybe you want to elaborate on that.
Sure. So a lot of times what we refer to as pay now or pay later is referring to what kind of premium you're going to have. So for the Medicare Part C or Medicare Advantage, that's the ones that you see always on TV advertised, and they get some different celebrity or former athlete to say how great it is and things of that nature. That is one that we call pay later. So usually there's very little or no additional premium for those.
If you get lucky, they pay you for it, right?
Some of them, yes, depending on who the provider is. They have things like your dental, vision, hearing sometimes included, sometimes prescription drug, and something like silver sneakers where it has gym memberships and additional discounts and things for little to no premium whatsoever on top of your Part B premium.
Silver sneakers.
Yes.
Okay. Haven't heard that one yet.
Workout program for elderly people where they give discounts on gym memberships. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
To encourage healthy living.
There you go.
So you're not paying there, but there is some disadvantages of that. You have to find
so the advantage is it's
you're
not
not paying a
cost
premium
you a lot per month.
Correct. The disadvantage is if you like your doctor, finding a doctor that's within a certain network.
Yep.
If you're somebody who likes to travel a lot or vacations a lot or snowbirds down in Florida or Arizona or wherever you like to go out of state, all of those doctors and facilities are going to be out of network.
Sure.
So you're going to be charged for a higher premium.
Yep.
There's also co-pays involved, and some of the companies do it a little bit different. There's a percentage copay and there's a dollar copay.
Yeah.
So you can have a certain percentage, an 80-20 split on some of these things, or they can say if you go to a doctor, it's $25 every time. If it's a specialist, it's $45. If it's an ambulance, it's a flat $200.
Yeah.
So there's different ways that they can set that up.
So probably some more unknowns there.
Correct.
Generally speaking. Probably not going to work great for the person that's retired and is traveling all over the place.
Yep.
Okay. And then...
Or if something fairly major happens,
Sure.
I mean, if you have that 20% copay, 20% of $100,000 is a good chunk of money that you could come up with.
Sure. Yeah. So that's what we call pay later. And I think the reason for that is because we believe, and it'll come out here probably at some point in this podcast, that maybe it's not as much as advantages as it's advertised, and that we think that tell me if I'm wrong, but if it might make sense for that person that's retired and pretty healthy, maybe that makes sense while they're younger. But the problem is when they're older, more health issues, it can start to cost more potentially. And then in order to switch back to the supplement side, which we'll talk about in a minute, you got to go back through underwriting.
Correct. And that's the big thing. You have the slew of medical questions that you have to ask, and they can turn you down for it. And then you're locked into, you can switch between Medicare Advantage plans at that point from different providers. But yeah, you're not going to get that supplement coverage available if you don't qualify and pass through underwriting.
Yeah, and we're not necessarily saying we don't like it. We sell it.
Yeah.
We deal in it. But I think that just depends on the situation.
Yeah,
what
and
direction you go.
our main focus is more to present the different options to our clients, because there's some clients that the Medicare Advantage works perfect for,
Yep.
and they don't care about the splits, the co-pays, things of that nature. They're worried about as little premium as possible, and that's perfect for them. Some people, that really scares them and in the future, and that's why we lean more towards the supplement side. So our goal at the firm is more present all the options, give our educated opinion based on what their situation is,
yep.
and then let them ultimately make the decision of which one they feel is going to work best.
We don't
for
really
them.
care.
Yeah, doesn't matter to us either way.
Okay, so I think we forgot one major detail when we started. So that was the pay later side of things. We're going to talk about pay now here in a minute. But we should probably talk about age, right? Like, when are people eligible?
Correct. 65 is that magic age.
Okay.
So I'm sure by the time you're 64, you're going to start getting 15 different things a day sent to you in the mail, whether it's a flyer, brochure, sometimes it's a 160-page book on Medicare that you get sent out.
Never going to read.
But there's a lot of that stuff, and it can just bog you down.
Yeah,
it can be.
Sure. I always tell people it's really not as difficult as it looks. The reason it feels difficult is because you get all this marketing to you when you turn that 64 time frame. So anyways, okay, so we kind of talked about Medicare Advantage. We kind of gave you the positives and the negatives there. And then so let's talk about the med sup side. So just to recap, the Med Sup side, you're going to have Part A through Social Security or through the government, however you want to say that. You're going to have Part B. That premium, if you're on Social Security, is going to come out of your Social Security check, right?
Yes, that's why a lot of people don't even realize that they are paying that premium because it's just automatically deducted from their Social Security amount. So half the time they don't even realize they're paying a payment for it.
It's funny. So this is completely unrelated, okay? But when I'm in meetings, sometimes I'll ask people, so like, what is your net income every month, right? And it's so funny because a lot of people don't know. And I'm like, how do you not know that? And they're like, well, it gets direct deposit every 2 weeks. I don't even think about it. I'm like, yeah, I guess that's probably true. I don't know if I'd think about it either. Anyways, okay, so you have Part A, Part B, and then there's deductibles included there. And so most people are going to go get a supplement plan and to start covering that type of thing, right?
There's a whole lot of different supplements that are out there as well.
Right.
The one that we kind of come across as a firm and we've discussed and that we think is the best coverage is probably a supplement Part G.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just our firm. I mean, generally speaking, most people are going to a G. It used to be Plan F, right?
Yep. So the only difference between, I believe it was 2020.
I think that's right.
January 2020, if you were born before that, you could qualify for a Plan F.
If you were 65 before that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Not born.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yes. So you would qualify for a Plan F at that point. The only difference between a Plan F and a Plan G is the deductible of this year. It's $233 is the deductible. On a Plan F, you don't have to pay that.
Sure.
However, that if you take 233, divide that by 12 months, it's about $20 a month.
Yeah.
So the premium's $20 higher on the Plan F.
Yeah.
So it's really the exact same thing. It's just whether or not you have any out-of-pocket costs at all.
Okay. So I was just coming back to that saying Plan G is probably the most common. There are other ones out there, but they've got their nuances and maybe it makes sense for certain people, but probably not the majority, I would say.
Even our clients that do a lot of research on their own beforehand, it seems like their main decision is it a Plan G that I'm going for or is it the Medicare Advantage?
Right.
So even without us suggesting that, that's what most people come to their own conclusion on is the best for them.
Okay. So we got 100 and something. How much is it, Plan B?
$170.10.
Way to be exact. $170. We're not going to do the 10 cents math right now, okay? $170 for Plan B. Then you're going to get a Plan G, which is going to cost you what?
Once again, depends on if you're male or female.
Sure.
But
give me a range.
Anywhere from $110 a month to $140.
Okay. And then to clarify, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think I'm right. A Plan G is a Plan G, and that is a Plan G. Meaning, if you get a Plan G through Blue Cross Blue Shield, or through Aetna, or through whatever carrier, it's all the same coverage. And so you basically shop on price, right?
Correct. Yes. So every carrier is going to have a different premium. Some people like certain coverages because they had Mutual of Omaha or whatever company it is throughout their whole work career, and they like what they do. But when you transfer into Medicare, it's all regulated by the government. So, yes, if you have a Plan G, whether it's through Mutual of Omaha or Aetna or Blue Cross Blue Shield, it's all the same coverage regardless of what doctor you go to.
You're basically paying for a name, right?
Correct. So that's the only difference in premium is what the provider.
What does Plan G do for you?
Plan G essentially, like you kind of touched on earlier without getting into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Part A has its own deductibles throughout the year. Part B has its own deductibles, but on basic Medicare, you have those deductibles that once you hit, plus you have the copay percentages of the 80-20 split.
Sure.
If you have the supplement, you're paying the premium, and that's where we get to the pay now side because you're paying it now for that premium. But that $233 deductible is all that you have to pay for. So it wipes out your copays. You don't have your 20%, whether that's on your big hospital stays, heart attack, stroke, things like that, or your regular doctor visits, blood work, things. Once you hit that $233, that's it. That's all you pay aside from your monthly premium.
Right. So you're $170 for Part B, then you're another 100 and whatever, 20, 30, 40 for G. So you're $300 into it by then. And that's actually pretty good coverage. I mean, the government runs it, and maybe some people question that, but it's actually probably better than a lot of people's insurance.
Well, correct. And the big thing that I see people notice the difference is, they could have their flexibility right now. They could be paying $250, $300 a month in their current premiums. But a lot of times what I've asked is they have $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 deductibles instead of $233.
And if they're maxing those out every year.
Correct.
Then it's really probably more expensive.
Yep.
Okay, but what it doesn't cover is prescription drugs.
Correct.
Right? And then dental, hearing, and vision.
Correct.
More or less. And so what's the solution there?
Which there are additional policies that we can look into if that's something that you feel. We do have some clients that feel, as far as dental, vision, and hearing, what coverage is out there, that they're better off self-insuring as opposed to there's a lot of dentist office that aren't in a Medicare network is the issue. So if you have somebody who you really enjoy going to, sometimes they decide to just, look, instead of paying the premium, I'm going to set that money aside and then go to the dentist that I really want. As far as prescription drugs, we have plans that we go through with clients all the time.
Get your prescriptions, figure out what's best for you, what's cheapest, what makes most sense.
And then we shop those in a list of all the different providers and tell you which ones, based on the prescriptions each person takes individually, which plan is going to be work best for them.
Biggest thing, at least in my head, and this is just the way I think, because I don't want to worry. In my life, I don't got time to worry about the little things. So, and on the med sup side, go get a Plan G and the things we're talking about right now. Go anywhere, anytime, to any doctor that accepts Medicare, which is practically everybody,
correct,
more or less, and you're good. So the Medicare Advantage side, you got in network, out of network things. On the med sup side, what we call the pay now, you pretty much can go anywhere. And you're going to be good. So it provides a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, with the Plan G or the Medicare supplement, the only question you need to ask any doctor or hospital is, do you accept Medicare? If the answer is yes, you can go there.
Yep.
If you have the Medicare Advantage, you have to ask, do you accept Medicare? Yes, we do. Okay, that's the first step. Do you accept this specific plan that I have? If they say no, then you have to do some more research on where to go.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up a couple things that I don't want to get deep into because we're gonna be running out of time and it's probably too much detail for a podcast. But there's this thing called a donut hole. So do you want to give me like the 1-sentence explanation on that so people know to ask questions on it if they talk to anybody?
Sure. So the donut hole basically is regarding prescription drugs, and it is the amount after your deductible, the maximum before you reach catastrophic coverage on how much you can pay as far as those prescription drugs.
Right.
So I tend to not focus too much on that, since with prescription drugs, we have the ability every single year, people sometimes, depending, say, for example, you have a heart attack or something major that happens.
Sure.
Get diagnosed with something and you have that medicine only for a short period of time.
Sure.
Every year, we want to go through and re-up and look at your medicine situation, prescription drugs, and see what plan we can switch back and forth to that's going to be most cost effective.
Right.
So,
okay.
Even if it's 1 year and it's pretty high, we during that open enrollment, October to December, that's when we'll take a look at it and see if we can better your situation as well.
Okay, Phil and I, I'm sure you listen to every one of our podcasts.
A lot of them.
Yeah. Okay. And so we talk a lot about Roth conversions, getting your taxes paid today, so we don't have to worry about them later in life. What do we got to watch out there with Medicare in terms of premium?
Well, the biggest thing that you're going to have to do is figure out, and we can help you walk through this based on wherever your income is. So Medicare always looks back 2 years when they figure your Part B premium. So it's not affecting your supplement premium, it's just Part B premium. Yep. So there is levels that the higher your income 2 years back, it's going to affect that premium.
So when you're 63 years old, make sure you're paying attention to your income, because that is going to determine what your Medicare premium is going to be. And I think it's $180,000 or something.
No, it's not even that. There's one. I think the first branch for bump is like 90-some thousand.
Okay.
We do have a client, and obviously I'm not going to say their name, but they were $93 over the cutoff, and it costs them an extra $100 per month on premium or whatever. So
that's terrible.
Yeah.
The point of the story is that the Medicare Part B premiums go up with income. It's very similar to if you look at the tax brackets. Depending on your income, you may pay more than the 170 we were talking about.
Correct.
And so my point is if you're doing Roth conversions or inflating your income because of that could adjust your premium as well. So that's just something to be aware of. It's not a reason to stop doing Roth conversions, but you need to know about it.
Correct. And that's something in our planning that we can
for sure
go over and discuss.
Yeah. Okay. So real quick, talk about when the best time to start enrolling in this stuff is, and if they want our help, how we can help them.
Yeah, as far as a Medicare supplement, or if you're aging in at age 65 or about to turn, you have that 7-month window. That window is 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of, and then 3 months after. So we recommend as soon as you hit that 3-month window before your 65th birthday, that's when you should begin logging onto Social Security website, signing up for Part A and Part B.
Right.
If you're retired and no longer working. If you still have employer coverage, consult with your human resources department and see what their requirements are. If they want you to sign up for Part B because it might give better discounts and that sort of stuff as well. So that should be your initial step. If you'd like us to help you walk through that, we're more than happy to help you do that as well.
Yeah, that's a phone call. Get Jesse on the line, talk through, hey, here's my specific situation. What's the best route to go from here? And we need to start talking about that once you're 64, essentially approaching 65. Okay, sounds good. So if you have questions on any of that, obviously just go to our website, reach out to our firm. Phone numbers 309-263-1333, and we'll do our best to get those questions answered. And by we, I mean Jesse.
And there is also a spot on our website too where you can fill out a form and request information, or and that would be me giving you a call and answering any questions you might have for that kind of initial consultation.
Yeah, and we can literally help anybody that's turning 65.
Yes.
Okay. Any other things you want to mention on Medicare?
Even if it's something where you're currently on a Medicare Advantage plan and you just want to make sure that you're in the plan that works best for you, we can do a comparison and things like that. Coming for the open enrollment period. So that's when you can make changes within your plan. So if that's something that you want as well, just to make sure that you're on the right track for what you is going to fit your needs best, then allow us to help you with that as well.
Sure. Do you think that we should fire Phil? Because I feel like our flow is pretty good today.
I think it is too. Maybe it's just beginner's luck for me, but
Phil, you heard it. Jesse's coming for you. All right, we're going to wrap up the show. This Week in History. Are you ready? Normally, I ask Phil these questions because he's old and he should know these things. But, okay. This Week in History. 1908, Henry Ford introduced the Model T. You want to know something cool? I rode in one. I think, what's today? Today's Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
I think it was this week. If not, it was last week. It was really cool. My neighbor's got one.
Wow.
He paid, what did he tell me? He paid $250 for it. And he said he bought it when he was 20, and he's like he's 70, I think.
Wow.
And he said he's put a couple grand into it, and the thing ran great. It's pretty cool.
Wow, that's amazing.
1863, President Abe Lincoln declared the last Thursday of November, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then since we're rolling into playoff baseball, 1921, the World Series was broadcasted on the radio for the first time.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Now we got Albert just hitting homers.
Yep. And Judge just hit 61 the other night too. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us this week for your Retirement Blueprint podcast with our special guest, Jesse Psinas. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You bet.